Where we fall down a lot of times is in strategy. And to get to strategy, we got to go back to the fundamentals of marketing and marketing communication. That's what we're going to talk about today. So most folks don't get to hear me speak because I speak mostly to CEOs. And I speak to CEOs mostly because that's how I've grown my agency. Because CEOs control the budget, so they hire my agency, right? So the content you're going to get today is super valuable content. And CEOs who are members of Vistage pay thousands of dollars a year to get access to this content. And you're going to get it today. And when you see it, you're going to say, wow, that stuff was just so common sense. But why aren't we doing it? Well, after today, no more excuses, right? You'll start implementing these things. So let's jump in. And I'm going to put a lot of process and structure around digital marketing for you, because that's the other thing I think is missing in digital marketing. We wing it too much. Somebody has a great idea and we go for it. A designer has a great idea and we go for it. For digital marketing to be strategic, we need to have a process or a plan around it. And after today, I'm going to give you that plan. We've worked on this for about 20 years at my agency. The key thing I tell the CEOs, and the key thing I'm going to start with you, is awareness drives everything. Awareness of strategic digital marketing will drive change, which drives results. One of the fascinating things about digital marketing is that your awareness of data drives improvements. Now, I would imagine most of you here are interested in lead generation. You'd like to see more leads coming into your sales team. Is that correct? Some of you may be e-commerce, selling online at e-commerce, right? But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is this: nothing happens until you have awareness. And the data is proven over and over in digital marketing. HubSpot manages tens of thousands of digital marketing instances, and they see that the companies that pay attention to digital marketing get results. And so I go around the country talking to CEOs. I say to them, pay attention to your digital marketing. Ask questions and drive results. The same is true for you as a marketing manager or as a leader of your team. So in the presentation today, I'm going to present a lot of slides. There's going to be a lot of bullet points. We can make these slides available to you if you fill out the form and give us your email. We'll send you the slides. The slides are the foundation for a digital marketing plan. They're also great for the questions that you need to ask your team, because I believe that digital marketing starts with asking the right questions. And when you're not comfortable with the answer, diving deeper until you are comfortable. And this is what we're going to accomplish in the next 45 minutes. I'm going to give you tactics to increase your sales, increase your leads. I'm going to give you structure around digital marketing. And I'm also going to show you how to build a team in 2022 to do digital marketing. So let's jump in. I want to start with a process. So if you're employed at a successful business, that business is successful because it has great processes. Why not have a process for digital marketing? Let me show you what we've come up with. When you see this, you're going to think, well, of course, that's common sense. We should be doing that. But many companies are not doing this. Digital marketing starts with strategy, which I'm going to cover today. Once you've set the strategy, then you communicate that strategy to the world through your content. Step 3 then is inbound marketing, which is the idea of attracting people to you based on that strategy and that content. Inbound marketing does not come before strategy. And we work with a lot of companies that have struggled for years with SEO and Google Ads and email marketing because strategy is not in the right place first. They jump to inbound marketing before strategy was set. And then step 4 is fabulous. You can measure everything you do. And most of the CEOs I work with and talk to do not invest in the right things to get the ROI they should, right? So I'm going to give you some ideas on that as well today. Let's jump into each of these steps. Let's start with strategy. What's at the heart of digital strategy? At the heart of digital strategy is the translation of what you do really well. The translation of what you do really well. Why is this so challenging for companies? It's challenging because we're too close to our business. We see our business from the inside looking out. We can't see it from the outside looking in. So if we can't see it from the outside looking in, how do we translate value? Your biggest challenge as a marketing professional is to do that. The best marketers on the planet do that really well. It's a translation of the value you provide. Everything is about benefits. To get to that, I want you to start asking some questions. So I mentioned that these slides are the outline for your updated digital marketing plan. So when you get these slides, you can go through and answer these questions and start to complete a plan. These questions are at the heart of strategy. And a big part of digital marketing today is branding and brand awareness. And sometimes the leads that you get will not come from digital marketing directly, but they will support that process. Digital marketing will support that process. And in this deck, there are several million-dollar slides. And this is one of them. If you can answer these questions effectively, you're going to be super successful in your business. And this is at the heart of that translation of value. Let's look at these questions really quickly here. When you have a business, when you start your business, you have a marketing vision for that company. You have an idea of where you want to go with your growth and what you want to do. As you start to move through making that vision a reality, you need to do a competitive analysis. And this is what I tell the CEOs I talk to. If you look at all the websites in your space, why not have the best site in that space? And I'll tell you, it's not hard to do. It's not hard to do because it's based on content, right? So look at your competitors and do it better than they do with your content. And today we're going to talk about the idea that content has to be simple, clear, and direct, and that it has to be part of a conversion process. And the other thing that we don't do enough of is talk to our customers. So at Intuitive Websites, we do user testing. We do very simple, basic user testing. Bring 5 or 6 people, put them on the website, and ask them to shop and buy. Don't help them. Don't give them advice. Don't ask their opinion. Just watch what they do. These things are at the core of developing that strategy and understanding your translation of value. Let's dive a little deeper into strategy. And once again, these questions have to be crystal clear for your marketing team. How are you the best in your space? How are you the best in your space? And you might realistically look at your space and realize you can't be the best. If you can't be the best, then how are you different? How are you unique? If you don't have that framework to work with, then why would people select your company to work with you, right? Now, what's really cool about being unique and different is that there's several ways you can do that. And you have to communicate this in your content. One of the best ways to share how you're unique and different is share the processes at your business. And there's a really important process that a lot of us miss on our website, and that is, what is the process to get started with your company? And when we do user testing, we ask people to do that. We say, how would you engage with this company? How would you get started with them? And we hear this way too often. The user will say, I don't know. So why not just tell them? Tell them what it's like to engage with you. Tell them what they get in the first call. Tell them what they get before they get a proposal or some kind of cost estimate. That process is unique to you. That's a competitive advantage. Obviously, your people are a competitive advantage, and you have to talk about them on your website. Your people should be writing content and be personalized on the website. And CEOs ask me this question all the time. Well, if we put our people on our website, won't a competitor come and steal them away? And my response is, have a great company so people don't want to leave. If it's that easy for people to leave, then what's going on at your business, right? Have a great company. And let's get a little deeper into content around strategy. So if people want to connect with you and understand your translation of value, what are your values of your company? What is the mission of your business? Why was the business started? Why do people work there? What kind of values do people gather around? Share that information, and that's how you attract people to you. That strategic translation of value. And then the bottom 2 questions around story. What is the company's story? What is the history? What's the story of the people at the business? And how does that story connect with the story of your customer? So these are strategic questions to ask that are part of step 1 in digital marketing. Before we go start writing a blog and we're posting every day or every week, we've got to have these things nailed down really well. And what I found in working with many companies around the US, we don't spend enough time in this. We tend to wing it, use our personal opinion, sample size of 1 opinions, where we need to be more strategic and answer these questions. Okay. Once you have that strategy figured out and you've sat around and your team, your management team, your leadership team has this really crystallized, you have a plan in place, now let's figure out how we're going to communicate that strategy. And at the heart of my presentation today is going to be step 2, communication of your digital strategy. And I want you to get a little bit out of your box about what you think strategic communication is. We communicate strategy in 5 different ways. It's not just messaging and content. It's these ways as well. Design for your target market. Make anything you do online easy to use. If your content is easy to use and easy to read, people assume your company is easy to work with. And in user testing, when we see a website that's difficult to navigate, people assume that the company is difficult to work with. Messaging and content. So after today, I want you to have several key awareness points. So you will no longer see marketing the old way, you'll see it the new way. The new way with content is this: headers, taglines, and depth of content. Those are the 2 types of content on the web. When we get into taglines and headers that are generic, like welcome to our website, or variations of how great you are, those taglines and headers do nothing for the user to engage them and pull them into your content. So headers and taglines have to be concrete and of value. You want to avoid words like solutions. Instead of saying we offer great solutions, tell us what those solutions are specifically. That's a much better headline and tagline. The best marketers on the planet live inside the head of their customers. The worst marketers on the planet live inside their own head. So your challenge today, after you leave today, is, man, how can I get inside the head of my customer? I have these goals I have to meet, lead generation goals. I've got to grow this company. I got to live inside the head of my customer to do that. So based on the years of experience we have at Intuit Websites, I put some slides together to tell you what people want. This is what they want, what users want. And at the core of what they want is 2 very simple things. They either want to avoid some kind of pain or get rid of some problem they have, something negative, or they want to gain something. They want to acquire something that makes them feel better. So at the core of the reason your company exists is to do one of those 2 things. Your challenge as a marketing professional is to understand what those are specifically. And I'll tell you right now, it's probably not what you think they are. So a question to ask your customers: what are the 3 reasons that you buy from us? What are the 3 reasons that you stay with us? And what are the 3 reasons that would motivate you to buy from us? Just ask 10 to 15 customers or prospects that question, and the answers will surprise you, and they will form the core of the reason you exist and the value you have to provide your customers. And then your content can help them get what they want. The other thing that I find in user testing, which I want to share with you, is just how simple people want it. There's nothing in our lives that we want to be more complex. No user will say, I want to experience more complexity with this company. Now, if they're engineers and they live with complexity, you can provide that in content. You can talk about complex engineering things, but on the surface, in the key landing pages, it needs to be simple and clear. Part 2 of this is that if we know what they want, we can also understand what they do. We can understand how they interact with digital because we can see them. You can heat map websites, you can look at Google Analytics, you can use HubSpot data, and you can see what people do. And this slide basically tells you what they do. This is what you do. When you visit a website, when you look at a social post, when you read content on your phone or your computer, you do these things. So as a marketer, how do you build engagement around these key things? This is what you strategically want to write up in your marketing plan. And I will tell you that people look at photos of people more often than anything else online. So looking at photos of other people is the most common thing we do on the internet. And what are some of the most common types of photos we see online on websites? Well, it's clip art, right? We see a lot of clip art online. So your challenge after today, a new way of thinking. How can we get rid of clip art at our business? How can we use photos of real people at our company, real customers, real engagement, and avoid clip art photos? Now, if you're going to use clip art, use high quality photos. Don't use the photos of the clip art stars that are out there, like the lady with the gray hair and the glasses. Probably show you that. I can show you that lady later if you want to see her. Do unique photos. And you know what? We engage with that because that is a translation of value. We get to see the people we're going to work with. We get to see real people we can trust. Now, what CEOs say to me in my meetings, they say, oh, that's great, Tom, but what happens if they leave the company? Well, you deal with it. You take a new photo, or you leave that photo because, they used to work there. That's fine. And eventually you'll replace the photos anyway, right? So content. I think you're getting the sense now that how important content is, and people are going to interact with that content. These are the questions you want to answer in your marketing plan around content. And all of the principles I'm talking about today, Google loves. Google engages with content the same way that benefit-focused user seekers want, right? Now, there's a trick to content that works. And in 2022, you got to do this to rise above the noise. And that's the idea of using content to relate to the story of your target market. Why is that important? It's because we don't remember information, but we remember stories. And you know this, you know it intuitively. As a marketing professional, how do you make that happen? So I want you to think of it this way. Until your prospective customer wakes up in the morning and has some kind of need for change, there is no story in their life that involves your company. But once they wake up in the morning and there's a need for change or some desire to avoid pain, guess what? Your company may be an option at that point. You want to engage with them at that point in their story. And there's a great resource to help with that. It's this book called Building a Story Brand, which I'm going to talk about briefly. Donald Miller was a leader in this space, and this book broke open a bunch of other books now on this topic, and marketers are talking about it quite a bit because it's super important. There are companies that have read the book and companies that have not. The ones that have read it have an advantage. So after today, get this book and read it, you'll have an advantage. The challenge is in taking the concepts from this book and making them real. How do you take the concepts from this book and making them real? Has anybody here read the book, by the way? You've read it, yeah. So, yeah. If you don't have time to read the book, I'm gonna help you. I'll give you a summary of it right now. The big takeaway from the book is that your company message has to be very clear. If people don't understand your message, they cannot engage with you. So you have to see your business from the outside looking in and make sure people understand your message. Clarify your company message. The next big takeaway is that you're not the hero. You're not the hero saving a victim. You are the guide. They are the hero. When someone wakes up in the morning and they have a desire for change, they're the hero in their own story. You play the role of the guide. And because you're the guide, you have a plan. Remember I talked about the plan, how that's your unique advantage? You have a plan or a process. And then with that plan and that call to action, you help them defeat their villains or accomplish what they want to accomplish, the game they want. And then it ends in emotional success. All purchasing is based on emotions, whether it's $1 million B2B sale or a $10 e-commerce purchase. It's an emotional decision you make to buy. Yeah, so it's good stuff, right? Can you relate to this? Can you understand that? This is going to change what you do in your marketing. I want to take it one step further to make it applicable for you. I want to show you how you can develop website pages that do this. Website pages that are story branded. And here's the next $1 million slide. How do you create pages that engage users where they are in their story and moves them to action? You do it following this flow. The first part is that it's an easy to use navigation structure. There's really only 4 buckets of navigation that can cover every single part of your company. We tend to make navigation too complex, and that's not good for mobile users, is it? The headline in your banner, your main tagline on your website is the most important piece of marketing copy you have at your company. So your website tagline is the most important piece of marketing copy at your company. It is top of funnel and it is the first thing people engage with. Many websites I look at either have no tagline or have a generic tagline that's interchangeable between companies. Very few have a tagline that really captures someone's attention and moves them through the process. And I'm not talking about a slogan. I'm not talking about something that's catchy and fun. I'm talking about something that's clear and direct that moves people to action. Then you want to have 2 CTAs on your website. 2 CTAs, bottom of funnel CTA to talk to someone and get in touch, and a middle funnel CTA to capture an email address, because with the privacy rules coming with Google in the next year and so forth, if you don't have an email address, you're not going to be able to nurture people. because we're not going to be able to track people by IP address in the future. That's why you want tools like HubSpot. You want to capture email addresses. And then here's at the heart of this landing page. Before you talk about yourself, how great your company is, you talk about the benefits and what's at stake of no purchase. You talk about the benefits of working with you. So remember the question you ask your customers. What are the 3 reasons that you work with us? Now we get to see those. And then people go, oh, wow, they solved that problem. I want to read more. This is a guide that might help me with these problems I have. And then after you talk about benefits and stakes, you talk about your featured products and services, you explain your plan, what it's like to get started with you. And then you can use testimonials, customer logos, and because you're the guide, you have great resources. This is a web page flow for your homepage and key landing pages that will improve your conversions up to 5%. And we've seen it. Because if you match user intent with a layout like this, why wouldn't people get in touch with you? It's exactly what they're looking for. Once these things are in place, everything we've covered so far, you can write out on a whiteboard. You can put this together in a plan. No developer or graphic designer is needed just yet. But once you've got this stuff written up in a plan, now it's time to get to the tactics, build out the website pages, get this content out there, and then guess what? You will attract people to you. Now, I'm going to give you some rules around inbound marketing to make that happen. I love this slide from HubSpot. And this is how you're engaging with folks, right? It's an infinite audience of 1. And I want you to think about your audience after today in 2 ways. 1, yeah, prospective customer, right? But 2, prospective referral source. In fact, the influencer growth in 2022 it's going to continue to boom. And it's going to cross into B2B markets. So your website has to be applicable for people that's going to refer business to you. So if you're not clear and direct, it's not going to happen. Let's look at these 4 laws of inbound marketing. These are cultural changes to make at your business that will drive results for you. Number 1 is it's really hard to call on people and get a sale. You got to get found in their research. Marketing today is getting found in people's research. Data supports this as well, of course, because data wants you to click on ads. So they want to be found in the research. And we've seen it in Intuitive Websites. We monitor hundreds of websites. People are out there researching for you, get found in the research, convert those folks to leads. To talk about people and how they research you, we have to talk about the funnel. And the funnel goes by different names: the sales and marketing funnel, the buyer's journey, whatever you want to call it. It's the process of research that begins at the top and ends with the sale. This is the old funnel. This is the funnel that I grew up in marketing. I wrote a book on this funnel called Intuitive Selling. And at the heart of the old funnel was qualifying questions. The salesperson would get someone on the phone and ask them questions, right? The best salespeople ask the best questions. That's changed now, hasn't it? That's been replaced. What's it been replaced with? People read your content and qualify themselves. And then when they talk to your sales team, they may know more than the sales team does about your competitors and your product and your offering. So for you, if you're in marketing, your challenge is to have content that meets people where they are in the funnel and can move them through the funnel to a close. And here's how you do it. You do it by developing an intentional funnel with things like this, things like what's on the board. Now, where do people struggle with the funnel? They struggle in the middle. Most companies do pretty well top of funnel. We can get website visitors. We know SEO. We can get content going. But we don't usually have enough stuff in the middle of the funnel. We don't have great webinars. We don't have great ebooks. We don't have engaging things. And like I said, this is so important because you've got to capture email addresses and nurture people. So one of the big takeaways today is to go back and identify what is your funnel? How can you strengthen the middle of the funnel to improve conversion rates? Okay. Well, I'm going to try to move this slide forward. There we go. Okay. This is one of the best tools out there in digital marketing, and it's the Google Search Console. So this is the must-have top of funnel tool. It is the best tool for monitoring the top of the funnel. And it's the tool that is missed most often by marketers. So after today, an action item for you is to go understand the Google Search Console. And it drives all the SEO tools that are out there, SEMrush and Moz and so forth. Go to the source and understand how this works. Now, once they've researched you, we have to keep them loyal. And I'm going to give you a slide of bullet points here on how to do that. And I think for many of you, you understand the impact of COVID and what COVID has done to marketing. This first bullet point is more important than ever. And in fact, it's a foundation around story-based content. You have to really understand where your customers are coming from. To do that, you have to do that to build trust. I'm not going to go through all these bullet points. We can get the slides to you, but this is what drives loyalty, is an understanding of your customers and your prospects. And there's a great tool for that, and that's HubSpot. So we're a HubSpot Platinum agency. We're close to Diamond now. We love HubSpot. I selected HubSpot for our agency because it's easy to use, it gets results, and it's just an interface we could share with our clients, and they could easily pick it up and use it. HubSpot is critical because you can monitor the funnel with HubSpot. So if you're going to create a funnel, you got to monitor it. And if you're going to monitor the funnel, then you can move your team into action to improve each part of the funnel. So if you see some gaps between marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads, let's close those gaps. Let's get the middle of funnel content going so we can close those gaps. Even asking questions moves the team in the right direction. Now, on top of all this, we have to keep it simple. We know that when you keep it simple, people convert at higher rates. And if Google can do it, you can do it. Imagine how much money Google could make if General Motors had an ad on their homepage, right? And Google is scared to death that we will stop using Google. None of us have a contract to use Google. We just choose to use it. And they keep it simple to keep engagement high. So here are your rules around simplicity. And this is cultural rules to follow with your team. It takes some courage to cut from your digital content. And you've got to focus on those key benefits. And a big takeaway from today is the 10 out of 10 rule. The 10 out of 10 rule is this: 10 out of 10 people experiencing your content and your website must know what you do and the value you provide. They can't refer to you if they don't get that. It's a 10 out of 10 rule. And you can tell your digital marketing teams, you can say, hey, do 10 out of 10 people get it? And it starts with that homepage tagline, which is a big takeaway from today. I'd love to see you all, after this session, go look at your homepage tagline and say, hey, how can we rewrite this so it's more clear and direct? And what are the key value points we want to communicate there? And law 4 is that everything has to be mobile ready. So mobile usage increased during COVID. I thought people might be on their laptops during COVID a little bit more, but they weren't. They were on their cell phones. B2B websites tend to have about 30% mobile users, and they'll convert from mobile. And B2C websites could have 50 to 60% of their visitors coming from mobile. It's just fascinating to me, but I see it all the time. When I never thought someone would convert from their mobile phone, and they do. So you have to be ready for that. It's because users want it now. Users want it now. And I'll make the slides available to you if you guys want them. I'm going to keep going. So a lot of digital marketing presentations start with this slide, right? These are the tactics that we're going to focus on. You're probably going to talk about these tactics in other sessions here. So I just want to give you my take on these tactics, and I want to stress that these are the 6 most important tactics for your digital marketing plan. This is the definitive SEO slide. I've been watching SEO since the inception of Google, and the fundamentals of SEO have not changed that much over the years. Content is still at the heart of great SEO, and this is the coding you need to do to get some great SEO going. And we see that when you do great SEO, you increase the value of your company. I'm going to show you how that happens in just a minute. Email marketing is absolutely critical, and we highly recommend that you email at least once a month with a newsletter, and that your email should have great desirable content on it. And at the heart of SEO is content marketing. And if you have more content on your website, you have a more valuable company. You have more content on your website, you have a more valuable company, because you get more traffic and you get more leads. And then what the CEOs say to me is they go, oh my gosh, how can we possibly do that? We have 75 pages on our website now. How can we get to 500? You have to have a content calendar and a content plan. It's hard work, but you have to do it. And in your competitive analysis, go look and see how much content your competitors have. And you'll see right away that the companies that are outperforming you tend to have a lot more content on their website. So this is a great slide for the idea of content marketing. If you have to sell anybody on this to get a budget going for content marketing, this is a great slide for that. What I love about this is that once you get listed in Google on page 1 for a term, as long as your website's being updated, you'll probably stay on page 1. So that investment to get to page 1 will pay off for years. The big takeaway from this part of the presentation is that you are an online publisher. Marketing today means you're an online publisher. And your challenge is to do this. What are the 6 areas where you are a thought leader? So what are the 6 areas where your company does something better or different than anyone else? Those 6 areas then become the key categories for your blog and how you position yourself as a thought leader. And your customers know the answer to that question. Haven't talked much about social media. I'm sure you'll cover that in other presentations today. It's very top of funnel, but all these principles apply. Of course, video is fantastic in social media. I do want to talk briefly about influencers. Influencers tends to be the part of our marketing that we don't do enough of. And when all else is failing and when you're struggling, reach out to influencers. And here's how I think it works. Have a relationship with the influencers. Contact them directly, put them in your database, email them separately, and build relationships with your referral sources, B2B or B2C. The influencer world is definitely something you need to know about. And it's growing in B2B as well, and it's growing in LinkedIn. Right? Influencers are the key to rising above the digital noise. And I'm looking at the turnout for this conference. I would encourage the conference founders here to get an influencer program going. Because if each of you invited one person, we double the attendance, right? That's the power of influencers. Okay. Performance and ROI. So if you're working to get budgets together for this kind of work, there's a way to sell your leadership on this. Now I'm going to go through these slides fairly quickly, but ROI is based on knowing where people are in your funnel and having a conversion strategy. So if I come to you and I say, how many people do you need to download that ebook before you get a lead? You can say to me, hey, we need 25 downloads of the ebook for every lead we get. You should know that kind of information. That's your key scorecard. And website traffic is a leading indicator for your business. Your CEO needs to understand that. What do you suppose happened to website traffic for companies that struggled during COVID? Fell off a cliff. We saw it. And I'm going to share with you a tool for showing your leadership how to drive ROI. And so I run an agency. We have 16 employees. I know what it costs to hire people, contractors or whatever. And this is what it costs to run digital marketing. So what it costs to employ you if you're an employee, right? So if we know what it costs, we can run the ROI. And in your digital marketing meetings, we need to be running this ROI. If you know your average order, you can go down to the fixed costs, the monthly costs. All of these things drive top of funnel activity like website visits. Those website visits then convert in the funnel, and then they become sales. The question for you is, what do you control in this ROI analysis? What do you control to make money for your company? And I'll challenge you by saying this: you control all of it. You can get more traffic to your website. You can story brand your pages so they convert at 5%. You can train your salespeople on how to work with the web lead and how to sell effectively. And if you do those things, you improve all these numbers. That's how you show value. Many of us wing it. So after today, no more winging it. We're going to get a process going. And I want to share my thoughts with you on how you build a digital marketing team, right? First of all, there's 3 disciplines that have to come together. And could they be any more different, right? Marketing leads the process. What we're seeing in 2022 is that design needs to be strategic with marketing's guidance. Designers don't drive strategy. Marketing drives strategy. Designers meet the needs of the strategy. And within those 3 disciplines, there's 8 hats that people wear. The key thing I want to bring to your attention is 2 key roles on the internal team. One role is the funnel manager. This is the person managing marketing automation in HubSpot. The next role is top of funnel SEO and digital marketing manager. Those are 2 separate roles. So the person managing the top of the funnel and high level engagement is different from the person managing HubSpot and email marketing. Be careful of mixing those 2 roles. That's a big ask to have someone do both. And also think of this. Not everybody thinks of marketing the same way you do, right? You have a vision for what marketing is. Well, here's 5 different visions for what marketing is. You want to make sure these are represented on your team. And what I see in my presentation is that we're really missing the chief storyteller, and that often we're missing the customer champion. How often is it that the customer feels like an adversary? They make us work so hard. They complain. They make me jump through hoops. Got to have that customer champion. The Vistage talks I give, we have a lot of companies in the middle 3, but the 2 on the outer edge here need some attention as well. Okay, so I'm going to start to wrap up the slides, and I'll take some questions as we finish up here. I hope you have some action items. If you don't, I have action items for you. And if you fill out the card on the table, we'll send you these action items. You need to be doing these things. These things will drive results in sales. I'll guarantee it for your company. These are your immediate action items. For most companies out there, we're not communicating enough. We don't have blogs, social, and email going out often enough. So these are your immediate action items. If you don't have some form of marketing automation, you're falling behind. Your competitors are going to nurture customers at a much higher rate than you can. The more long-term action items are around the planning. So you've seen the slides, you've seen the bullet points. Now it's time to get these into action and start building the plan, the long-term plan. And I also want to give you some resources. I want to give these resources because I've been doing digital marketing since 1998, and I've filtered through all this stuff. So why not just share with you what I filtered through? These, I think, are the best digital marketing resources out there. And I want to start with my book. So this is a book that covers this presentation, and it's available wherever you want to buy your books. And then I also brought 5 books. If you want a book, you can get one from Patty. And then here are the resources. These resources are fantastic. If you don't know these things, go check them out. Most of them are not expensive. Many of them have free trials. Screaming Frog for SEO is a must-have, for example. So check out these resources. And I've got a few other books in here in the slide deck as well that I'll give this to you if you email me and ask for these slides. Okay, so I hope you all got some value. I hope I helped you see things a bit differently and more strategically. So I'll take a few seconds here for questions, and then we'll wrap up. Yes, question back here.
So our main issue is that our funnel is listed across multiple teams. An organization that has membership, it has donors, and so it exists across multiple teams. And how do we get all of those different platforms to talk so we can have a clear understanding of the funnel?
What is your company name?
The Denver Museum of Nature and Science.
Okay, that helps me quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's a great question. And it is, and we got to acknowledge that it is one of the biggest challenges of digital marketing when you have a disparate market segments, right? Because people want what they want for them, right? But you have multiple segments that you have to reach. So what I highly recommend that you do after today's presentation is wireframe a new homepage that aligns the priorities of your company with the priorities of your key market segments. And you don't need a designer to do this. You can wireframe it out using that slide and focus on the key benefits of the key stakeholders you want to reach on your homepage. And then make sure that each of those segments has their landing page where that landing page has been story branded for them. And there's a rule of thumb to follow. If you are talking about something that would upset someone or have a disconnect or cause a negative reaction, then you may need a new website with a new URL. Follow me on that? So at some point you might realize, this market segment, we probably need a new website for this segment because the current segment's not going to get it at all. It'll just upset them. Then you need a new URL. But it is the biggest challenge of digital marketers is to meet the needs of diverse segments on one landing page. So that's why it takes a strategic thought. I would also encourage you to talk to people in those key segments and ask them what they expect to see. And communicate your navigation in the language of that segment so they know how to get to those key landing pages. And then, of course, you can do Google Ads and SEO around landing pages on your website. One of the things we're seeing in Google Analytics is homepages are not as popular as they used to be. So when I first started doing this work, 70% of users would go to a homepage of a website. Now, because of Google, we see a lot more landing pages popping up. So it's very common to see websites where only 30% of users ever hit the homepage, but they need to hit those key landing pages for that segment. Does that answer your question? Help answer? And then, of course, the CTAs would be unique in those individual landing pages. Same thing, bottom of funnel, middle of funnel CTAs.
Yeah, I think my follow-up question would be if you have a tool recommendation that, we're using different platforms to track all of our data.
Yeah, it's a great question. So real quick, I'll give you some data on platform usage over the years. So when Google first became super popular, about 70 to 80% of researchers were on Google first. That number's dropped to about 50%. So only about half of your researchers will find you in Google. Where will the other half find you? They'll find you in social media. They'll find you on other websites. They'll find you through the impact of influencers. And they'll find you in their email inbox. So a big change of thinking today. People will use their inbox for research. So if your email is not in their inbox when they're ready to start their story, you may miss out. Right? So you've got to see the data and have all those areas covered. Any other questions? That's a great question, by the way. Yes, sir.
Is there a rule of thumb that you would suggest for frequency of push? All right, we'll do it in stereo.
Yes.
For push things like an email blast. So obviously with blogs, it sounds like you're recommending blog like crazy, build up the content on your website. But when we're reaching out to people proactively and getting into their inbox, and I assume the answer is different for every company, what's the magic number? What's the frequency? How often should that go out?
So the number of email messages you send out is tied to how many users you have in the database, how many people in the database. The higher the number, the more often you want to email. And I'll give you some rule of thumb, okay? So if you're at about 2,000 to 3,000 folks in your email list, you want to at least have a monthly newsletter at a minimum, right? Maybe twice a month max. Once you get to 10 to 20,000 folks in your email list, you want to even go weekly. And then, of course, you guys see this. If you're, like I play guitar, right? So I love Fender guitars and Gibson guitars. They email every day, but they probably have 1 million folks on their email list, right? Because they know the more they email, the more sales they get, right? And I really believe that at the core of your email is your monthly newsletter. And if you're using a tool like HubSpot, that monthly newsletter gives you so many insights on what your database is doing, what they click on, what they're interested in, and so forth. Good, great question. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I work for a digital marketing agency. A couple of my clients, and back to your funnel stages too. So a couple of my clients, they want to just ungate everything pretty much and don't do lead gen on social media or paid social. I guess my question would be how do you accurately attribute an MQL or an opportunity if they first touch social media first, but then last touch was through Google, for example? What does that process look like?
And is the question also when to gate and not to gate?
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a good point. And unless you test it, we don't know. So you want to test things, right? But there is a major trend toward ungating anything that you don't need to gate. But I love webinars. Now, webinars, you have to gate because they've got to register and they need an email to register. Has your client done webinars?
Yeah, for the most part.
Webinars are a great way to capture email addresses. And then I would test gating and ungating. I also would be really honest with your gating. So if you gate because you just want to capture an email, that's one thing. But you may want to gate because you have a pretty big PDF file and it's better for them to download it with their email than it is to, get it on the website, right? So there's reasons to do gating. But that middle funnel tactics are super important. Patty and I were talking on the way up here. We've been email marketing for years and years and into our websites, and we hear from clients that heard this presentation 2 years ago, and then they call us and say, hey, now we're ready. But they're only ready because we've stayed in touch and we've emailed them over time. So offline events are also great for capturing emails. I talk to your clients about that as well. But we've got to capture email addresses. If they're not doing anything to capture email addresses, got to have that discussion with them.
Yeah, they're not going to capture email addresses.
What is their business? What segments are they in?
They're construction, software, one of them. So basically, he just wants to run like LinkedIn ads and Facebook ads and only to ungated content, not asking for email addresses. But
Do they have a software demo?
They have demos, they have trials, they have like all the rest of it.
You have to give an email to do the trial, right?
Right. But what he wants to see is if he gets a demo conversion later on, like, did this person, I don't know, went to a blog post first through our social media first. Like, he wants to see first touch, but without the email process at that level. But he'll see the.
It sounds like we got a little bit of sample size of one going on there, which, and you see this with CEOs or business leaders all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They say to us, I don't click on an ad. I don't want to run ads. Okay, well, you're missing a huge opportunity. Well, I don't click on ads. That's sample size of one thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who does sign up for a software demo is prime for nurturing. Tools like HubSpot. You do HubSpot?
They use Marketo. But
Marketo.
We're trying to get
Marketo. Yeah, you want to nurture those folks that have done that. Okay, any other questions? It's a good one too. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. It was great to be here.